All right, and hello and welcome to SlimDevOps number 73. We are getting up there in the numbers. I am Peter, head of growth here at Slim.AI. I'm joined by Nina, my wonderful co-host as always. Nina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, things are good. Spring is springing, and it's getting warm here, and it's just a good time. Feels like a time of rebirth, a lot of energy, and it's exciting stuff happening here at Slim too. So, yeah, what's new in your world?
Yeah, I've been doing a few different things, I'd say. I'm doing spending a lot more time researching on all things containers, which as I should always be doing, looking up some of the trends related to that in 2023. And also, outside of that, been preparing for travels for KubeCon EU, which I'm super
Mm.
excited about. My first international conference, I believe, that I'm attending. So Amsterdam is not ready for me, but yeah.
Cool, happening soon. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I'm kind of doing the same thing here. I've got some events. I'm not getting to go to Amsterdam despite my incredibly Dutch name, and that's where my people are from. But I am actually getting ready for the conference that's right after that, which is RSA in San Francisco. So it's gonna be
Oh, awesome.
yeah, my first security conference. So, yeah, what are you looking forward to in Amsterdam? What's teeing up to be your favorite thing there?
There's so much. I'm really excited about meeting people and just networking, getting to know other people in like DevRel, in that space over there, and also just engaging with the people that are there and showing what Slim is all about.
Hmm.
That'll be cool to do that alongside team members. It'll be dope. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool, cool. Yeah, KubeCon's a great experience. We always have a great time there, and so I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about RSA. I've never been before. We're sponsoring a thing called the Security Suite through Insight Partners, one of our investors, and so they're having kind of a big party. So if people are going to be at RSA or KubeCon, look us up. If you come into the Slim.AI Discord community, you can find a link at Slim.ai. The a link above my head. You'll find a link to our Discord. Drop in, let us know. We'll be posting about some of the events and stuff like that we're doing both at KubeCon and at RSA. So let us know, and we'd love to see people in person. It's kind of cool to get back out there and be in person at these events. So that'll be fun. So speaking of connecting with friends, we have a very special guest with us today. Very exciting. Somebody who will be at KubeCon as well. So let's bring in the one and only Captain Corsair himself, Nuno de Carmo. Nuno, great seeing you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Glad to see you.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. So thanks for joining this. This stream has been a long time in the making. I feel like we've been talking about it for a long time. So it's really cool to see you and connect with you. Um, so tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do over at SUSE. Yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Nuno do Carmo. I'm Portuguese but living in Switzerland, and it's been 1 year and a half now that I joined SUSE as a tech writer, and slash like 5-10% of DevRel,
Mhm.
because in the community I'm most known about like the Corsair. So we will
Mhm.
talk about that maybe later. But yeah, and I'm a Microsoft MVP for Windows development. I'm a Docker captain, as you can see
Mhm.
here, and I'm also a cloud native ambassador alumni for now. Hopefully, I will be in the V2 that will coming this week normally,
Yeah.
or next month, I think, during KubeCon. But anyway, so yeah, so I work with various communities, always around one team, which is WSL potentially,
Mhm.
or containers like cloud native applications, Kubernetes, of course. But my let's say my main role is to, or my main mission for from me to myself, it's really to try to bring all these nice tooling that we have in the Linux world, from containers, right, from Docker, from Kubernetes,
Mhm.
back to Windows. So
Mhm.
if it can run natively, it's like cherry on top. But
Yep.
if it can't, it's like how can we run the workloads, the applications inside WSL? And
Yep.
that's what I've been doing since 2016
Yep.
already. So a few years now. And just before why tech writer, it's just before I was working in a pharma. So and before that in a telco as an employee of HP, but for the telco as a consultant. But yeah, the pharma world taught me like how to write like compliance documentation, where we really need to be uh, careful about the wording, precise, because it's potentially documents that are read as is by operators, and they have to, let's say, to operate machinery where like my role had maybe no impact into the patient, but through documentation it will have an impact on the patient, because if an operator was like doing something wrong, potentially was due to the documentation, and therefore it was like a indirect impact, I was calling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was 8 years, some good, some less. Pharma is a weird world, I would say. So I came back to IT, where it's my place.
Nice, nice. Well, if people have questions about that's a super interesting background. My wife works in biotech, and I know the bar is very high there for where you know, mistakes can be made and stuff like that. So I can understand that. I'm curious. So Nina is our new docs writer and developer advocate, and she's really getting a handle on all of the documentation that we have around the Slim platform and all of that. I'm wondering what advice you have maybe for you know, people getting into docs writing and technical writing. Like, what have you learned that, you know, about writing good docs that you can share?
Okay, so I'm not doing that on purpose, but it's really a shameless plug because we are searching for a tech writer as of today, working at SUSE in Europe base. It's work with me, so that's why I'm doing the shameless plug. Sorry, may I stream? But
That's totally okay.
no, so I what I like about tech writing is that I had another talk, but it was like be curious, like understand and try to learn actually what you are writing about. I have colleagues that potentially don't come from the tech world, but are like way better writers than myself, definitively. But the thing is, like, the advantage that I have is that I will understand or try to understand what I'm writing about and try to apply it. So once I understand, potentially as a user, I will have another view, and I will be able to actually do onboarding docs a little bit better than a developer that is already like neck down into like the application. And sometimes like the docs that we might receive to review or to participate in, to contribute to, are docs from developers that actually wrote maybe what I call shortcuts, because for them it was logic that they go from step 1 to step 5. Like
Yep.
that's automatic. But you, when you are starting to learn especially something, you don't have like the step 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Right? So you have really like to come back a little bit, like be a user. That's what I like. My mindset is really like be a user and try from zero, like knowledge, try to apply the zero knowledge and then go down. Sometimes if I don't understand though, I try to go like by abstraction. So I say like, okay, I fully trust also my colleagues. So I will say, okay, if in the docs it says like, if I do this, it will result in that. I don't understand it, but then it's okay. I will just try to now rearrange it as an English phrase potentially. But yeah, the goal is to stay curious, to learn about what I'm doing most of the time. And yeah, and seriously, it's like if you like that, you never are bored in this job.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because like starting this role here and being a bit newer to the cloud native space, there's so much that I'm learning and so much I'm learning about the platform. So having to turn around and actually write about it is, I am that new user. So I'm getting that experience. I think that's pretty valuable to be doing that. It's exciting. I'm naturally a curious person to a fault. But so that is what makes it even more exciting to be a part of this space. Is there's so much to discover, and even experts are like they have so many questions. So anywhere that experts are still scratching their heads, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, and we are lucky because we are working with people who create the tools that other are using. So
Yep.
we are kind of like we are the users, so the internal community of our developer for our developers. But at the same time, we have access to a knowledge that few people have, unfortunately, because developers cannot like. It's not that they don't want to share; it's like they cannot be everywhere, and during the day they have to work on well what they paid for. So, but you as an internal person, you have access to that knowledge. So for me, it's really like something that I care about to transpose as much knowledge that I gain to the community also. Like all my blogs, so outside my work, I do blogging around WSL potentially, but I always share like 100% of my discoveries.
Nice.
I'm not afraid of sharing that. Like people might think like, okay, but if I share all, then potentially I have like competition. What I like to say is like, yes, I share all that I knew at a certain point in time, which is potentially yesterday, but it means that today I already learned something because of my curiosity. So I'm always like one step ahead. But even though my let's say my wish is to share everything, but everything that I shared is something that I learned
Right.
at some point in time, then I share, and then I'm already learning something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I know our colleague Ivan Velechko is going to be on with us next week with Raw Code. He said that was how he got into tech blogging as well. He was just learning Kubernetes, and he said, "Hey, I want to share everything that I'm learning, wrong or right, so I can get more feedback. I can understand it better. I can share my experience." And he gained a
Nice.
big following from that because people like to see that. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. And I just shared your WSL.dev blog. I was reading that
Thank you.
last weekend. Yeah, it's awesome. It's cool to look at. I haven't dived into a lot of WSL. I have a Windows machine and I work on it. I actually do coding on it and all of
Good.
that. I do fall into the category of people who bought a computer to do machine learning and then used it
Hmm.
for games. So that's, I'm that subsegment of the market. I'll admit to that. But I think there's been a lot of cool stuff that's happened in Windows, like back when, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, Windows is over here, Unix systems are over here, Mac is kind of somewhere in the middle, but
Mhm.
with WSL, it's really like it's made Windows just like this really vibrant development platform. How have you experienced that as somebody who's kind of like been very close to WSL
Oh
for your
yeah,
whole career?
true.
Yeah.
Like when WSL came out, I said to let's say the PM, Rich Turner, that actually ended his career at Microsoft. Now he's coming back to Europe, but thank you, Rich, first of all. And but no, what I told him is like it was 8 years too late. That like 2008, that's when I made the switch to Linux Unix administrator at
Mhm.
HP for the telco company, and I was a junior. Like
Mhm.
I'm a Windows guy. Like from my beginnings to 2008, I'm fully Windows, and some switch in life, let's say, and in the company, and they suggested me what I wanted to do, and I said like, okay, I love challenges, so why not this Unix thing? Like I know about it, I'm just like I don't know much how to do it, but if you want a junior, then I'll be glad. And they said yes, to my surprise, actually, to be totally sincere.
Yeah.
And I did 5 years with whom I call my master. So my colleague was a HP UX guru that HP would call him to debug some kernel things for HP UX, which is like way above my level still to this day. And the thing is like 2008, you could not learn Linux or like Unix. You could not have it. Like you had Solaris that was making the switch to 86 x86, sorry. but it was still mainly Spark, and then other Unix like HPUX. Forget, like I will not have like a workstation at home. It costs like too much, and there's no laptop running HPUX. So the next best thing was to learn the commands, which was like Linux.
Mm.
And 2008, again, the only options that you have was either Cygwin. Props to them, they did a fabulous job. But Cygwin is like they were like recompiling the binaries from Linux to be compatible to their Cygwin on Windows, and it means that you don't have all the commands, you don't have like a lot of things. Then that's where I entered like virtualization a lot, like VirtualBox saved my life. VMware Fusion when it was
Yep.
free, it got free at some point in time, and also great tool. And Hyper-V was not that good. And I'm a Windows guy, remember, but like 2008, it's like it's still like on the premises of really a good virtualization stack. To my point of view, don't like quote me if you want, but it's like it was not bad. It's just like it was not on par with the others as a user. And um, and then I had to learn virtualization, and like something that maybe Nina can relate or not, I don't know, but it's like when you enter a world that you have to do a job, but you don't know also the content, you have to learn twice. So you have to learn your job and you have to learn the content of your job, right? So
Yep.
it's like it's a double learning, and that's quite bad. Or that's quite harsh. Let's say it's good, but it's harsh on you, like the first years.
It's
And
challenging, for sure.
yeah, thank you. That's a better word.
Yeah.
and then so I had to learn two things at once while doing my job. And yeah, so after 1 or 2 years with my master, then it was good. Fast forward now, so I didn't add WSL. So when WSL came, it was like, okay, now I have the user land. I can learn commands, not fully. WSL1 was still like a interpretation layer. Okay, so it's not a full VM, or it's not. There's like the full user land, but there was like some hard limitations, like sockets and everything. Um, but still, it was way better than what we had in terms of resources, because it shares like it's like a container, right? So it will share your CPU, it will share your RAM. You don't have to allocate RAM to your VM to run. You don't have like in terms of disk is like again it's like a container, so it's like the rootfs of a container is like what 300 megs maybe top when you have like a big Ubuntu or something like that, and or another distro to that matter. Um, but then it means like if you have a VM, yeah, we are talking about like 1 gig, 2 gigs of disk
Yep.
already. So, like 2008, we are speaking about high-end user machines of maybe 8 gig RAM, 16 to the ones who could, and quad cores, right? Even in terms of CPU. And the terabyte was maybe not yet there. We will
Yep.
maybe speak into 100 or 200 gigabytes of disk, and we were like, okay, we were kings.
Yeah.
So the thing is like WSL takes out a lot of things like that. And then 2018 came WSL2,
Yep.
which was um, like you have to understand like Docker. Again, I go tangent, but please bring me back. So
Yep.
Docker was working with Microsoft on something that they call Linux containers on Windows, lcal,
Yep.
which allowed you to have the docker.exe, so the Docker daemon for Windows, Docker D in this case, but with a runtime, as we call it now, with a runtime that will allow you to actually run the Linux containers also without having multiple daemons. You just have one, but it will like interpret the two. And this work actually was kind of the base for WSL2 because uh, the guys at Microsoft really thought about it and said like, okay, I think we have something here. If we could create like a micro VM, really small, like headless, right? And we could have this container technology on top of it, then, sorry, then we could actually start something. And they start working on this WSL2 ID based on these LCOW principles, and it worked.
Yeah.
So then the challenges were like network performance, cross file system performance, which we still have to this day, but that's kind of normal. But then the integration between the two worlds was the key that WSL1 was so popular. You could interact with your file system at any time, be it Windows or Linux, and they didn't want to lose that with WSL2. So a lot of work was put into that, while making it like more precise, more or not precise, more close to a real Linux environment, like virtualized environment. And they did it. And again, fast forward to today, we have now C Group V2, which will allow us to potentially run rootless for, okay, it's still a niche, but still you can try the tools that are rootless, like Podman. You can try them, and you are not blocked. We have systemd, which actually is the init system. They call it systemd because they had systemd in mind, but it actually works with OpenRC. I've done like a blog about it. So it's like you have suddenly like the bits of the VMs that were kind of lacking, and now like WSL2 is growing into feature reach, really. So the next step, it will be really performances cross file system. It's quite hard, and then the networking stack also.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool to hear the whole history of it from somebody, because I kind of came into containers. I think Dana's kind of in this, like we kind of started working on them about the same time, I think. And it was sort of right when, the Mac M1s were coming out. That was when I really got into Docker. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd used it before, but it was sort of a technology I didn't really need because I wasn't doing that kind of development. And when I started getting into it, it was like, okay, the Mac M1s were coming out and Docker was kind of scrambling to, and they're doing a lot of work to get, where they could support these ARM chips. And it's like, as a developer, like you just never think about kind of the multi-architect. You're just like, okay, I'm going to code on my machine, I'm going to ship it, it's going to run somewhere, and it's just going to go run. And that's what Docker does for you. So why doesn't it work on this? And to have to think about these sort of lower level constructs and all of this, and these smart people who are working really hard to make all of this work. It's really cool that it's kind of getting to this place where it really doesn't matter what machine you're running on. If you're using containers, if you're using Docker, if you're shipping to the cloud, um, it's cool. And then things like BuildX, of course, kind of help you with you don't have to think as much about the architecture that you're running on, but it still comes up and bites you sometimes. It still, can get you into trouble if you're not aware that, hey, this is actually running in a virtualized environment versus this is running on kind of the bare metal Linux machine like you might be used to. So
so it's I mean, like ARM is here now. Like we had some discussions back in the day, like again back in the days like 2008 2009 within HP, about like the ARM servers, and Intel was just showing, like, I don't know if you remember, they had like these Intel chips that were the small ones, like I don't remember how they were called, like Intel Core or whatever. Like it was really like the green low end, and one of those was enough to actually be as powerful as a, like, I don't know, like a 10 core ARM back in the day. And now with M1 and all the other chip makers also that continued like grinding their way all these years, now we have something that is here. And props again, you can tell, right? It's here, but I love Docker, and they literally changed my life. Also, like 2016 was WSL1, but it was also like Docker discovery, like 2015, end of 2015, 2016 was the discovery of Docker, And because I was working with also Solaris when I was Unix administrator, we worked with what they call like Solaris zones, which is not the same, but it's like kind of in between like jails and containers. And what they did is like, for me, it was like, oh, wait, Docker is doing something that I can understand because I worked with another thing that was kind of similar, right?
Mm.
And yeah, and I think here that's where I literally uh, was blown away by my second master. I will call him like that now. Don't tell him if you met him, but it's Nigel Polton. And he's a consultant. He's a Docker captain of the, let's say, the legacy ones. We can
Yeah.
speak about captain afterwards,
The
but
the 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 old
like
school.
the
Yeah.
legendary ones, the not the
Yep. Yep.
legacy, the legendary ones. And
Yep. Yep.
Nigel did courses back in 2015 that just like me and my friends, we were like, wow, who is this guy? Like we were speaking English, but not that well.
Yeah.
So we were like, wait, I have to really get into more English and like just to understand, not because of the accent, but really like about the vocabulary.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, like, oh God, but who is this guy? And he was like so dynamic, so excited, and really got me more than my friends because I'm here alone now. But 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 really, it was like, damn, who is this guy? What is this technology? And
That's
seriously,
how I feel
I
watching Brett Fisher sometimes, to be honest.
oh yeah, and Brett. I mean, like Brett was the second one really because we didn't really because we were on Pluralsight
Yeah.
trainings kind of, and we saw Nigel and Brett was already I think in Udemy. I'm not sure
Hmm.
about that, but he was okay doing his thing. And but I met Brett the first time in a KubeCon. It did, like the room was full already, like it was like
Yeah. Yeah.
100 persons taking a course from him, and I was there with my friend and I was like, okay, who is this guy too? Like, but really I think we really picked up the good technology because these guys are amazing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were just like kind and motivated, to
Hmm.
share.
Yep. Yep.
That's and like it clicked with me. I wanted to share a lot like already, and for me it was okay, perfect. So yeah, so Docker definitively like changed my life for
Yeah.
yeah, for real, like 2016 with
Yeah.
WSL.
I feel like I've had that same experience with every Docker captain, like Brad. I've met probably half a dozen, maybe to a dozen Docker captains at this point, and
Mm,
they fit that what you just described. Nice, helpful,
yeah.
open, like willing. And that's a really nice part of that program. So I want to ask you about Rancher Desktop and SUSE and the work that you're doing now. And I know we're going to jump in and do a little bit of a demo. Before I get there, one, I just want to say, if you're watching us, feel free to say hi in chat. We're very friendly. If you have questions for Nuno, for us at Slim.AI, if you have questions generally about containers or DevOps or security, please post them in chat. We'll chat about them. I have to ask you about Captain Corsair because I've just been dying to know this ever since we first started
the
interacting
story
on Twitter and all
the
of that.
story
Yeah, I need the story.
yeah.
I need to know. I need to know why. I need to like
So
where is that?
actually, if you look at my bio in Twitter, I
Hmm.
explain in a tweet what is the Corsair first. Like it's
Okay.
we are in 2019 or 2017, I don't remember, and there I already know about Docker captains, right? I met some of them already in a DockerCon or even a KubeCon, and for me it's like I'm still not an MVP neither. So I'm like MVP is still because it's annually, but for me it was really like a long goal to show my passion for Windows. Docker Captains was more me being a stalker. Like the guys were amazing. You will see them during these Docker cons that were crazy. The team at Docker was unbelievable, and they really felt like a small family.
Yeah.
And damn, I wanted to be part, like not a brother in arms like I'm now, but even like a cousin, like someone that they knew and I could talk with them. And so I went ahead and I said like, okay, I'm on WSL a lot, and there's these MVPs, there's these captains, whatever. So why not the Corsairs of WSL? So I'm signing my tweets since then, like by blah blah blah, the Corsair, and that's
Nice.
the mood I am right now. The initial one, the number one, was the WSL Corsair.
Hmm.
Okay, because that was the goal of like maybe having like a community around it.
Yeah.
Never really took the name, so the name stuck with me, but I'm good. There's the WSL guy, which is Hayden Barnes.
Yeah. Yeah. Friend of the podcast.
So
So,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, and amazing person, really. I had the chance to never met him, unfortunately, so that's not the chance here, but I had the chance to work with him and see him a lot.
Hmm.
So I was really happy. And he's the WSL guy, definitively. He
Yep.
created,
Yep.
like, he ignited, like, the whole community like nobody. And we others, let's say, other personas like Lucy Lewin, that created the first System D integration for WSL.
Hmm.
Um, the team at Penguin, Carlos,
Hmm.
other persons like friends in Brazil and so on. So we had like we were like maybe a team of 5, 6 persons that we had like everyone a specialty, like Patrick Wu from China that created like the WSL utilities, the first ones,
Hmm.
and we clicked like that. And then so the Corsair stayed with me. I wanted more persons, but not. And then I became a captain,
Hmm.
but I didn't want to abandon my Corsair ship. So it
Right.
started to be the Captain Corsair when I'm on Discord or some place like that, on Slack also, because yeah, I'm both worlds. I'm containers, cloud native. That's the captain ship, let's say, the ambassador also, and at the same time I'm the Corsair of WSL. I will try everything. And the Corsair, the bio was saying like, I steal knowledge. That's what I
Hmm.
do best.
I love that.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm a Corsair.
Yeah.
I'm stealing, like I'm. And Corsairs are like, for the ones who don't know, like there's a story, a real story behind, but they are like the pirates of the Mediterranean. So it's like a small captain ship, because Mediterranean is not ocean, right? So
Hmm.
you're not a full-blown pirate, but you are a corsair. And so for me, it was perfect. I'm like, I'm
Yep.
Portuguese anyway. I'm near Mediterranean, so I'm good. I'm good to be a corsair. So yeah, it clicked like that. And since then, yeah, I'm just the corsair now. The cloud native embraced it also. Like I have friends. I have
Yeah.
like my, let's say, my biggest achievement was just to get Liz Rice, the
Hmm.
amazing legendary Liz,
Yeah.
from Isovalent now. She was in Aqua before, but she saw me. I asked to sign her new book about eBPF, and she was like,
Yep.
"Oh, hi. So is it for the Corsair only?" And I was like, "Okay." She knew me. I mean, we talked already, but I didn't know like she was like already like on the Corsair. Like, okay, it's not for Nuno. It's really like for this person that helps the community, which is the Corsair. And I was glad with that.
That
So
is great.
yeah.
I'll take a moment to give a little self-promotional plug for Slim.AI. Our colleague Aisha Kaya, who was on the keynote stage at KubeCon talking about the research she does around container vulnerabilities. She and Liz Rice and um, the amazing Josh Bressers of Anchor are doing a talk at Open Source Summit this year in June in Vancouver.
Mhm.
I think it's June. They're doing a panel talk on container security together. So Liz, just an amazing person to learn from. I was just reading her book actually, um, on container security, her O'Reilly book,
Yeah.
which is really awesome. And then Josh, who just knows really everything there is to know about container security. So the three of them are going to get together. So if people are going to Open Source Summit, that'll be one to check out. So cool. That's a great story. I love the Corsair. I first was exposed to it when you were porting our Slim Docker desktop extension over to the WSL side and watching your stream and your video on that. I was like, okay, I get what he does. I get it. I get it. So nice, nice.
No, but that's yeah. I like, again. That's really, but that's really like a mission from me to me. Like, it works, it
Yeah,
doesn't work. I don't really care. It's more like, am I able to do it? It's my own
yeah,
challenge. If it can help, I'm glad, and so so far it has helped people. Uh, I like to keep it still like enjoyable, so I'm always like writing. If you read my blogs, they are always stories.
hmm
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing something like really serious. For me, it needs to be like, okay, you have to read it, and you, if you want to pass it to the good things, go through, just look at the examples. But for me, it's like, I write for myself. That's always what I said.
yeah,
Also, like,
yeah.
it's another thing. Like, I write for the future me that will need the information, because I will forget it.
hmm 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 Yeah, that's great. So set us up here because I want to get into doing some coding, getting our hands on the keyboard. You know, you're
Yeah.
one of the first people to join us for a guest YOLO stream, which so we've never done this on stream before. Martin and I have done YOLO streams. Big Pod and I have done YOLO streams. Nina and I have done YOLO streams, but we've never had a guest on. Usually, when guests come on, they come with a demo or something like that. And you're the first one to say, "Hey, let's try some stuff. Let's see what we're gonna do."
Yeah.
Um, before we jump in, can you give us kind of like an overview of kind of Rancher Desktop? I think we're going to be looking at, and sort of how
Yeah.
that interacts with the SUSE universe, and just kind of set us up because I think like we've been looking at Docker Desktop a lot. You know, we kind of work in that world,
Yeah.
and I think like these sort of alternatives or just other ways of kind of managing this. I know a bit about Rancher Desktop from some of the people in the WSL community, but I'd love to just get kind of an overview. What is it? Why does it
Hmm.
exist? Where are you in development and all that kind of stuff?
Right. Um, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Before we jump, then, um, Rancher Desktop was created before Docker Desktop applied the subscriptions. That's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that I always try to clear out the
Mm-hmm.
air,
Sure,
because
sure.
like, we didn't do it on purpose. It was
Yeah.
not at all that. We wanted, uh, if you know, like K3D. So we have this amazing Kubernetes called K3S,
Yep.
created by Rancher before they were bought by SUSE. And the thing is, like, K3S really works on practic- practically like everywhere, like small to big environments. It became this really nice Kubernetes cluster that you can really deploy everywhere. So then, create a friend now, Torsten Klein, created K3D, which is not only K3S inside Docker, like purely inside Docker. It still doesn't run on Containerd for now, but I guess he will get there. But like, if you look at K3D, he has capabilities that are so cool, that helps you to just spawn like multi nodes. You can open ports live, and we
Mm-hmm.
can deep dive maybe another time there. But there's a load balancer, so you don't have really to think about like, is my app publishing to the right IP or whatever. No, like, there's like, he really did a lot of work into K3D. So now, so that's the story. K3S, K3D, and now we have Rancher Desktop. Rancher Desktop was to showcase like, okay, here is Kubernetes on the desktop, bare metal. So I am
Mm-hmm.
really air quoting here, because it was like, we are leveraging WSL2 on Windows, and on Mac and Linux, we are leveraging Lima.
Yep.
Lima is now a CNCF project
Yep.
sandbox, and what it was like, it was the WSL for macOS, so
Yep.
it's like Linux on macOS, if you
Yep.
want. And Lima, actually, because it runs on macOS, uses KeyMU QEMU, or I don't know how you
Yep.
pronounce it there, but for
Yep.
me it's
Yep. Yep.
QEMU. Uh,
Yep.
so they actually could run it on Linux.
Hmm.
I mean, QEMU is a Linux project at the very beginning.
Yep.
So we could have the first, uh, I guess it's the first really, like tool for Kubernetes management, Kubernetes management, and that's where it will make a big, like not a big, but a small difference with Docker Desktop as we know it today. But
Yep.
the Kubernetes management for developers. So
Yep.
you just install, it's installed, and now you can use Kubernetes. Subscriptions came in between. So our customers, because it's a full open source project, which Docker Desktop isn't. So it's not me throwing stones at Docker, right? At all. I'm just explaining like the differences between the two, so we can concentrate on Rancher Desktop a bit later. But it's like Rancher Desktop is fully open sourced. So
Hmm.
from the WSL distro, you can see what it is, how it's built, and everything, to the UI that we are using, and plus then the deployment on the Lima containers and everything, like the Lima instances. Um, so based on that, like people started to ask, okay, but can we have just the containers
Hmm.
running without Kubernetes as a
Yep.
developer tool, because it was not implemented as a beginning. It's not that we didn't want to do it at the very beginning. It's like we knew like Docker Desktop was doing great on that
Right.
aspect, and our specialty at Rancher is really Kubernetes cloud native, right?
Yep.
So we knew that our Kubernetes, you can choose the version, you can swap the versions, you can restart, you can see what images are running, and we had also the possibility to run both Docker
Hmm.
or containerd runtimes. You just
Yep.
choose, you just swap it. Okay?
Yep.
Docker now is doing it also. So that's what I like, because
Yep.
Docker was so alone. Like, and again, when I say things, I have to be a little bit careful, but like, I'm not shutting down Podman here. I love
Right.
Podman also. I did a lot of rootless work there. I like them, but like Docker Desktop was kind of alone during so many years, right?
Yep.
But it's that good of a tool, and
Yep.
it still is. And now with extensions, for example, they are just killing it again, like the the development. Still, we rancher, we know what Kubernetes is best,
Hmm.
right? That's how what we do. Like, okay, I'm the tech writer, so don't ask me, but I have my friends that know
Right.
exactly
Right.
what
Right.
Kubernetes do, right? So,
Right. Right.
and the thing is, like, they could, uh, they could create really a tool that was meaningful, as Docker was meaningful for containers,
Yep.
right? So suddenly, like, we created that, and the tool evolved to some points where, like, now it's a bit back and forth, where Docker took the ID, even though it was there, but we did it,
Yep.
and suddenly they took the ID of, okay, let's bring containerd too, because there are tools there. We
Yep.
use nerdctl on
Yep.
the containerd side. Why? Because like containerd itself has some capabilities that Docker runtime doesn't. Okay,
Yep.
again, could be niche, like the lazy pooling, or like the compression of images and stuff like that. So it's something that might be niche sometimes, but people want it, right? And nerdctl was created actually by the same person that created Lima,
Lima. Yeah.
Akihiro
Yeah.
Suda. Okay,
Yeah. I've
so
actually been getting into those technologies a little bit, just looking at them a bit more. I kind of raised my eyebrows when the Finch project came out, which is built on some of those technologies.
yeah,
And I just didn't know about them, you know, and to be totally honest, and Akira sounds like an amazing developer, and these projects now are getting a little more um, visibility,
oh,
you
it's
know, and it
incredible. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you bring up an interesting point, right? Which is that, you know, like Docker Desktop is so ubiquitous in what people are developing, and it's such a good tool, and we have our Docker Desktop extension, and we love working on it. But I think, like, like work the way you want to work, you know. And I think there's always been this gap. It's interesting to hear you say this, because there's always been this gap, or at least we hear it all the time, and I've experienced this myself, between sort of making that leap from a single container to many networked containers to a Docker Compose file. And then where do you go from there, right? Well, then that's when you get to K3S, right? And then
Yeah.
Kubernetes, you know, and to really understand that, sometimes you really need to understand your containers in that networked mode to really get it to click, to get to that moment. Sometimes that happens with Docker Desktop, but I've seen a lot of people, like questions in our community, questions in other communities, talking to people at KubeCon. It's like, okay, I made this Docker Compose. I know my DevOps folks over here are like putting it in Kubernetes, but I don't really understand how or why or what the differences are. And it's interesting to see that that's kind of where Rancher Desktop started and then was working
Yeah.
backwards at the same time. Docker Desktop's kind of like working forwards. So
And again, like Docker Compose will work greatly. Like that's maybe one of the with BuildX and
yeah,
BuildKit. So BuildKit is open sourced. The Compose spec is open sourced. Um, so you have like Podman Compose, for example. You have NerdDCTL Compose, so
yep,
it's like pluggable, so they can really use it. That's why I say like Docker gave to the open source so much. Again, what I was saying about the fully OSS from the Rancher Desktop side is like the tool itself is fully open source, where Docker Desktop itself is not, right?
yep,
But the
yep,
underlying technologies, we are here thanks to Docker, really, that's
yep,
open sourced it. People forget like about the Linux kits. Containerd is Docker at the very beginning. So
right,
they open sourced it, and then it just took its live on its own.
yep,
So yeah, if you know a little bit like the history, you will see like there's a strong chance like the early Docker days, they invented so much that grew up, and then Kubernetes came then from Google first, and then they open sourced it, and it took its it created like the almost the second life of cloud native. Like the first life
yeah,
was
yeah,
definitively Docker, and then Kubernetes just make it bigger.
yep,
Um, so Rancher Desktop in all that is that it will help you make the transition, even though Docker Desktop has a Kubernetes also. What I like to say is like Rancher Desktop, what it will help you do is think in terms of end to end. As a
yep,
developer, I'm developing a tool that will run on production. Production doesn't run latest,
right,
rarely. Okay? Docker Desktop runs the latest Kubernetes alone because like that you can test for the future. That's what
yep,
a developer do. But a developer doesn't just do that. A developer will also debug and apply for a certain version with Rancher Desktop and K3S in mind in this case, right, or RKE2 even, which is our like yeah, what I will say to not be fired right now. RK2
don't get fired.
is
Don't get
our
fired on the Slim stream. That's one of our tenets.
production
Is
grade.
nobody gets fired.
Like no, all good. But like it's our production grade, really Kubernetes. K3S also is, but like RK2 has Windows nodes, for example, that you can
Yep.
plug in, and it's
Okay.
really like it was before for federal US. I think it was
Yeah,
called
yeah.
actually.
FedRAMP and SOC 2 and
Yeah,
yep.
so the thing is like, yeah, exactly. He has all that, and then you have K3S on the side, but that grew up so much that now is also production grade anyway. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
run
yeah.
either one, right? But anyway, so Rancher Desktop is still on K3S. So the versions that you will run are K3S equally the same as the K3S on bare metal, on your servers, on your clusters, on the cloud, whatever, right? So if you target 124.18 because your production is running that and not 126, okay, then the developer will need to target that platform. That's where
Yeah.
Rancher Desktop will really be helpful there.
Got it.
And
Got it.
again, it's really like with the mentality of end to end. We just don't stop at the doors of the developers. It's yes, it's a developer tool, but the mindset is that behind you actually applying it in production. The same goes for Docker Desktop, Docker itself,
Yeah.
right? They have so many tools. Why? Because the developer needs to potentially sign the container, at least ensure that it's secure. We'll speak about Slim here,
I was about to come in. Yeah. So good
and
transition.
needs to ensure that it runs and then publish it to a registry, and finally, like the production will pull it and so on. So the mindset of containers here with Rancher Desktop is simply applied to Kubernetes level.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was kind of going there with you on the you're talking about latest and you don't ship latest to production. And I was thinking in my mind, like as a new developer coming to it, there's so many things about kind of cloud native and Kubernetes that just aren't obvious to you. You know, like, well, why wouldn't I ship
Mm-hmm.
latest to production, right? And I think it's honestly like an area that we at Slim and Nuno and I've been talking a lot about this. You know, like it's an area that where we feel we plug in, right? Because that was the challenge that our CTO Kyle was looking to solve with the Slim Toolkit open source project, right? When he built that was, okay, I have to do all of these different things to like go from this Docker container on my desktop in order to ship it securely to production, and like what are all those things? Can I automate those things? And that was really how our company was born. So it's interesting to hear this that you like Rancher is sort of taking that from the infrastructure side, right? Saying like, okay, you have this, you're going to be running this locally, but then when you think about the infrastructure that's running in
Yeah.
production, you might want to have parts of that available on your desktop so you can see what things are doing. We were kind of
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at it from the container side, like the container internal is like, okay, when you're
Yeah.
going to go from that development kind of mindset to shipping this to production, what do you need to do? And can we automate parts of that? Because it's not easy to understand, it's not easy to know all of the different rule sets and all of those things. And so,
And believe me, I come from the Windows world again, and microservices were not really like the norm, right? It's
yeah,
more like known for having these big monoliths with the UIs embedded inside the
yeah,
tool itself and so on. So all these microservices was already like the first thing to think about, like, okay, how can I separate like from a corporate environment where I have one application, one exe, and I just run it, right? Like
yeah,
Office.
yeah,
Okay, I run Office, cool, but well, it's not microservice. Maybe behind the scenes is microservice, I don't know. But like
yeah,
when I use it, it doesn't feel like that. And the thing is, it's like cloud native was also to bring that, and it's still right to bring these, let's say, abstraction layer that you don't care what you are using, you just care about how you will use a certain tool to achieve your goal.
yeah,
But if it's like a million microservices or one big monolith, hopefully not, but like you shouldn't like be aware of that. So yeah, it's let's see how it continues. I think like the application on like the cloud native applications have still way a big room to grow, really.
yeah.
Deployments to make it even easier. So again, there's other companies, but at SUSE we are also creating tools around that. So we'll see.
All right. Cool. Well, sounds good. Well, so should we jump into looking at some
Yeah.
code and doing some hacking on our own? Does that sound good? People are watching and you have questions, feel free to jump in. If you have ideas, feel free to jump in chat. If you like the content, please give us a follow. We appreciate that. And if you want to connect with us later, feel free to drop into our Discord, which is you can find the link at Slim.AI, the link above my head. So all right, Nuno. So what are we doing today? I heard yeah, you have a setup for us. So walk us through what you got.
Yes. So I have an ID, so that's why it's more a YOLO demo today.
Yep.
So let's
Love
see
it.
where we can get today, and maybe have a session two in the future.
Perfect. I love it.
Um, so here I have Rancher Desktop on Windows. It's Windows 11. Uh, one thing, I will not explain too much about like WSL from now on. I will just explain the links. But WSL2 works on Windows 10, Windows 11, Home, or Pro or Enterprise or whatever you have. Since begin of last year and begin of this year, I think it was, we have exactly the same versions of WSL. Historically, you could install WSL in two ways, but let's skip that for another day. For now, I have the store WSL, which is the way to go. Sincerely, I advise everyone now to do that and to have Windows 11 potentially, because it will be more up to date. But if you have Windows 10, you can follow along. Then that's the, let's say, underneath, because you need WSL2 to run either Docker Desktop or in this case Rancher Desktop also. So Rancher Desktop here, it's fresh of this week. It's the version 181. You cannot be more up to date. This version brings one major feature that we'll not look about today, but that's why I'm plugging myself for a future show.
Okay.
But
All right.
there's something that you might be really, really interested, which is called the deployment profiles.
Okay.
I'll let it here. Go check the docs if you like, but we can do maybe something later.
All
Still, from here, what I said, and that was, now I can expand just a little bit on the differences. The Rancher Desktop, when you look at Rancher Desktop itself, so here it just checks like if you can update it automatically or not. It does show the port forwardings or can create some port forwarding for you on Kubernetes. It's grayed out, it's normal. I will explain why. Then I can see all my images here that are downloaded into my local store. That's important. Okay. Then we have like a troubleshooting. I will get back to the images. That will be our main actually demo today.
Sure.
Then I have troubleshooting where I can have the logs, can reset Kubernetes, meaning like it will reboot if you want like the instance of Rancher Desktop, but it will also clean your local Kubernetes cluster. Finally, if nothing works, you can always factory reset. And if really, really doesn't work, then you can uninstall, reinstall. But at least we have like the major, let's say, tools to just reset something if something is really broken. We added recently like a diagnostics page where you can run it. It will tell you more about like is diagnostics against like the tool. Do you have Kubernetes pointing the kubeconfig, let's say, the Kubernetes context? Is it using Rancher Desktop or is it using something else? Do we have some network issues? Maybe you cannot download or something like that. So it's quite nice. I didn't really use it because everything works fine on Windows. Everyone knows that. So my diagnostics are always at zero. Okay, I just want to be bashed in the internet. That's why. But anyway, so here before I go to the images, we have like the settings on the other side. That's where potentially the magic happens a little bit more.
Cool.
In terms of application here, we will have again. You can choose if you can send anonymous statistics. Again, you can opt out. It's open source. Again, we don't use it to track anyone. It's more like if suddenly there's errors, we might want to fix it as soon as possible. Then the automatic updates. We have also like a behavior. If I wanted to start at the login, if I want it to be like working on the background. So here, maybe it's really small, but here I have the small icon. And then if I close the main window here, do I want it to close fully Rancher Desktop or not? And again, the notification icon, it's this one here. Then something that it's different now. So I heard that you are on Mac, right, Peter? Nina also?
Uh,
Yes, yes,
Okay, okay. I forgive you. I forgive you. That's okay.
thank you.
busted.
No, no,
That's
no.
the way our
Just kidding.
engineers feel about us too. So
No, no. But the thing here is like instead of WSL, you will have the management of the VM, the
Mhm.
Lima VM here. Okay, you will be able to choose how much CPU you want to assign or how much memory you want to assign. For
Okay.
WSL here, we are talking about an integration because the management of the VM is like the micro VM of WSL is done by WSL. Okay, configuration files, and I really like what I call the non-intrusive IT. It means that it
Mhm.
will not start messing with your setup or your
Okay.
applications on its own. So here,
Yep.
if you want to manage performances and resources of WSL, then you have to go to the WSL side.
Yep.
But still, it means like a la Docker desktop, you want to know which distributions, WSL distributions, you want to actually have the tooling from um, Rancher Desktop. So here I have two of them. I have several, let's say, distros, but I just choose two of them, and we will work with Slim.AI just after.
Okay.
Yes.
Then the container engine here is quite important because it's here that you will choose either containerd or Docker. And because you will pick one or the other, it will allow you to use tools like potentially I saw like Docker Slim. It's still under only for now, at least with the Docker runtime. So if you want to run Docker Slim or even K3D, like I said
Yep.
before, you will have to run the Docker D or Moby, which is the small
Yep.
name for Docker for everyone who knows. Um, or you can run containerd, then the with the tooling. And if you pick one or the other, and I will just show a small demo about that, you will have to use one tooling or the other. But one
Okay.
tooling is like not the full stack.
Hmm.
If you have Elm, if you have kubectl, if you have Trivi, you still use those independent of which one you are using. But potentially to discuss with the runtime, one it will be nerdctl for containerd
Yep.
or Docker for
Okay.
Docker. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. I've actually never seen that before. I've always thought that containerd, well, I guess it is Kubernetes, but like in my mind, like containerd is like, something that lives in the cloud and it runs on, EKS or GKE or something like that. And I just
Nope.
never think about it. Here it's like, okay, I'm live. I'm interacting with it on my desktop.
Actually, like Docker runs containerd behind.
Right.
It's that
Right.
you have a Docker shim in between your commands, and it will transpose them to containerd behind the scene. Like I said, containerd was invented by Docker. It was their runtime actually
Yep.
after LXC, like long ago. They started with LXD and LXC, and then they swapped to containerd. Then containerd here is like you can really run containers standalone and not just Kubernetes workloads on top of it. Like Kubernetes is running containers at the end of the day, but the thing is like the the containerd as a standalone, it was quite new uh, and it gained popularity with nerdctl. You have another tool, the CRI CTL, right? That is normally the the original like as the normal tool for containerd is CRI CTL, and this CRI CTL actually allows you to run containers and workloads on it. The thing is like it's really, let's say, verbose complex. I would say it's not
Okay.
that you don't have the feel of Docker at all.
Okay.
nerdctl brought that back. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's why containerd is kind of used nowadays more and more also as a standalone. um, then we have allowed image. That will be the part of the demo that I'm thinking of. We will work
Okay.
together. And finally, I disabled Kubernetes just for today because I wanted to concentrate also on Slim.AI tooling, and I have questions, like I said, for my demo. So I want to ensure like we have more resources on this computer here. But the thing is, like again, is K3S at any moment I can just click here, click apply, and it will start my my K3S. We can even maybe
Cool.
do it at the end so I can show other things.
Cool.
But like I said, this here was not part of initial release. Initial release, we were like you had to run Kubernetes. Customers, community members asked to remove it because they wanted like a container management. And again, I use this term like that was on Brett show. He repeated it, and I so much agree with him. Rancher Desktop will allow you to configure your environment to run containers on it. But that's it. I cannot run any containers, as you can see. I can do some stuff. I will do it right now, but I cannot like run workloads. I don't have extensions. I don't have like UI. I have a UI. I will show it afterwards, but I need to run K3S. That's why I wanted to showcase like the in the last part something really cool also. But so here is more like I configure my environment in several clicks here and there, and then I forget. And then now I can go to my console and I can do like, okay, let me see, because I'm running Docker, remember?
Yep.
I don't have anything running, but here I'm running on, okay, sorry, OpenSUSE lib. I will explain which one it is. That's the little bit secret for now. But then I can run Docker, run Combine, for example, because it's the smallest one, and I have it already. And from here, I can do APK update. It will
Yep.
fetch everything, and I'm on Alpine, right? I'm working with a container now.
Yep.
I don't know, my internet is kind of crazy today, so it might not work, but again, that's me. That's not the tool or anything. Okay,
Yep.
anyway. So with that said, if we come back just to here, you can see something. So I have these nginx, thanks to
Yep.
Nina. I saw part of the like we were discussing just before, but I saw part of the stream last week, which was really great. So I encourage everyone to have a look at it. And you were talking about like, okay, here is my base container, nginx. There's potentially some stuff there happening. It might not be the most secure right now. And how can I harden it like and still be nginx, so I can still use it, right? Because that's the goal. Hardening is okay, but hardening and functional, that's where the magic happens, right?
Yep.
So here, if I click on the option dots here, you will be able to see that I have. Can I do something? Just a second. Oh no, that's not the one I wanted. Come back. No. Okay, let me. Okay. All right.
There we go.
Oh yeah, it's okay. So here I have like I can delete the image. That's not really what I want now, but I can scan it. The scan is done with Trivi.
Okay.
Okay, so I will keep it there running. So let me just get this out of it. And it will scan my container. Here we go. And now I
Yep.
have my report from Trivi. So I have 3 critical, 8 IT, 15 medium, and so on.
Cool.
I don't like critical. Like high is should not pass already, but critical is like a big no-no. I should not use this image in production. And if I now go back to my previous work, pharma, like this here, the blue one is already like findings. meaning findings. The low, okay, you can fix it, but medium, forget that. You have to like
Yep.
ensure, and critical is like you have to write a report while you are using this thing here. Okay,
I feel like we're
so I
really
don't want that.
getting to I feel like we're really getting to a place of like pure developer empathy because like I now know the vulnerabilities in this nginx image so well. Like I know the libcurl4 is the hard one. That's the hard one. The curl one is easy. That one we can get rid of that one. That one's easy. But that libcurl4 vulnerability is really difficult to get around. And I think Nana and I have both kind of seen these vulnerabilities so many times now that I'm like, I know what a developer goes through when they get this vulnerability scan back from their own containers and the anxiety that that causes. So I'm with
Yeah,
you.
I'm a little triggered by seeing this.
Okay, so as you can see, it's latest. I can try to pull it again, but I pulled it like yesterday, I think. So
No,
maybe they
sure.
fix
Yep.
it in between. I don't know.
Nope.
But the thing is like here, even though like it's a good example. So now
Yeah.
that's where the YOLO starts.
Yeah.
I have this image, but I want your image. Okay?
Right.
So I want the nginx Arden, for example. What can I do from where? So like you saw just before, I downloaded my Slim CLI that works perfectly with the
Nice.
small
Yeah.
cloudy here. And I have
Wonderful.
everything. I have an account, so I'm good. So from here, I want to work on this nginx image. What should I do?
Okay.
And,
Well, that
and Twitch,
is
that was not planned.
okay. All right. Now I feel like we're on the spot here, and Nina. So, well,
Yeah.
I think you could pull our community image that we were talking about last time because that's going to have a
I
hardened
like that.
version of it already. I can actually, I'll steal the screen share, Nuno. You don't have to change
Yeah,
anything. I'm just going to grab the screen share so people know where we are, which is over in our SlimDevOps repo. And we have these packages. We're storing these images all in GitHub Container Registry for right now. Just had a
good.
good experience with it so far. Uh, and I have a few of them that I need to make public, but we do have this nginx hello image that I know is available. So if I click in here, I will just grab this pull command and I will actually put it in chat, and you should be able to just go grab that image, and that should be our working hardened nginx image, which um, again, that's the one that Nina and I were working on, and Nina, you have a ton of experience with it, with this type of container now. um, it is, well, Nina, maybe you can describe it. Like, what did we do to this image in order to harden it?
Yeah, so we took it through a process. First, so you mentioned about scanning. We obviously had initially scanned the nginx container to see what kind of vulnerabilities we were dealing with, to then go through the hardening process. From what I've done a lot is using the platform to begin the hardening process. And so what's going to happen is that if we want to do this on our local machine, we'll be able to pull down an instrumented version of the container that is created through Slim. And
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know if we're going to do that here actually, or are we going to work with the latest?
No, let's see. Let's see. Like, I will. What I'm showing is like I could do it like through my through the CLI, but once again, like potentially I don't know the command by heart, or I don't know yet what I want to do. I can always jump back to Rancher Desktop in the images, and I can add an image. So that was a link here, and I can pull
Oh, that's cool.
the
No.
image directly from here, or if I have like a Docker file, I can even build it also.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay,
Cool.
so again, that's something like Docker Desktop. I think it does it. No, I don't think. I know it does it. But here is like maybe that's the only thing where you have some kind of management where you can do it.
Mhm.
Let's say on the window directly. Okay, so my
Cool.
image has been pulled perfectly. So now, and again, I don't want to put like you on spot, but like the first thing that I know is like, let me just highlight both of them, and highlight it even more. we can see already like the size. That's crazy for me.
Yep.
Like, really congrats. Like, I really like it. And being an nginx LO, it means that potentially it also has some even data already in it that will allow me to display afterwards, I guess. And it means that it's not even like vanilla nginx. So potentially it will be maybe not that much, but it will be even less. So the work here on image size, meaning like time to pull, or if you are running on a CI/CD, for example, like you develop, you have to wait until everything
Yep.
comes back to your pipelines. You want something that comes fast, and that's where I really, really appreciate the work you've done.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and one thing that's important about us, I think it can be confusing at least or something, but like, we just looked at Trivy on Rancher desktop. So we did our scan, we saw that, like, what did we see, right? We saw curl, we saw bash, we saw these different things that are in the container. Now, those are useful when you're doing development work, right? Like if you're working in this nginx image, like you pulled the Alpine image and you were doing an APK update, right? Like now if we remove APK from the production image, right, that Alpine image isn't that useful, right? Like you can't really develop on it. Same with curl, right? You might need to curl something to do a test out to some other container, or you might need to go out and
yeah.
pull something else in. So it's useful, but but it is related to vulnerabilities, right? So like, okay, how do you have that trade-off? Now, do you need curl in the production container? You don't, right? You don't. It doesn't do anything. Well, you might if there's something in the application that's using curl, but chances
Yeah.
are it's just there as a dev tool. And so that's what our system is doing, is actually removing those things that you don't need in the production image. So there is stuff in this nginx image and you can run it and we can try that, and you'll see like what we have here. But the real
Mm-hmm.
magic would come from configuring what you need nginx to do. So if you're going to use it as a reverse proxy, you're going to
Right.
do that nginx.conf. That's a little bit of what we've
Mm-hmm.
done in this image. But then you run it through the slimming process, and then you get this production image, and that's kind of where we're going. And so that's what we've done with this process, like Nuno was describing. So yeah,
Yeah, very, very cool. And again, like, congrats. Like, I was expecting anyway. I was not afraid. I didn't run the demo though, so it's really live. But it's not just for the, let's say, for video. Here we are really on uncharted and untested uh, collaboration. But here you can see like it brought up like zero compared to before. Like it was already like 95 lows and 3 criticals,
yeah,
and in between like you had maybe like 200 plus uh, let's say findings. So here you have like literally zero. And now,
yeah,
okay, so I do trust you now, my dear Slim container. So now here is the part, like I said, I cannot run it. So here I would like to run it.
Mhm.
I guess it will be a dash. The port, it's 80, I guess, and
I
then
think
something like
it's
this.
80 to 80. I'd have to
8080 also. Yeah, okay. Let's
I,
try. Let's try again. That's all good.
let's. Oh, no, no, no. I think
Um,
it goes to 80, but
yeah,
oh, you're going. I always get port mapping backwards. That's why I'm glad you guys have port forwarding in your thing.
yeah. No,
I think that
backwards is
I
Kubernetes. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that should work. I will, while you're running that, if it doesn't work, I will double check. That's like the one thing we always get wrong on this stream, is getting the port mappings
Yeah, no
backwards.
problem, no problem. So
Looks like
it's
it's fine.
running, and now because I'm on Windows, let me just run something. If I run localhost port 8080, I
Hey,
have a hello world.
yeah,
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
It
And
works.
so with
You have to trust.
yeah, do. No, no. These community images we actually know because we actually run these through a CI/CD process that includes
Hmm,
testing, and so that's like kind of like the reason that we did these community images. Like for Nginx, it's pretty basic because you're just it's a static website server, right? So this is just an
yeah.
HTML file. We run a curl against it or something in the test. I think we run a Newman test against it and say, does it return hello world? Okay, it works. And we do that both for the original image and then we do it for the slimmed image. For something that's more
Hmm.
complex, like our Redis community image, we're actually using the Redis end-to-end testing. So there, the testing is much
Oh,
more robust, but then
okay.
even the slimmed image there is going to be, hundreds of megabytes just because it has a lot of stuff in it. Here, the nginx, it's literally all it's doing is serving a hello world HTML file, right? You don't need 140 megabytes worth of
No,
stuff
true. Yeah.
to do that, right? So that's the idea. Yeah,
So,
cool.
okay. So now part of, okay, 1 hour and a half. That's good. You still have time, right?
Cool.
I mean,
Yeah, I think we're good. And again, just a reminder, anybody watching, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to jump in with ideas for our YOLO stream. I'm good to keep going if you're good to keep going. I know you're a few hours
I'm
ahead of
good.
us.
I'm
So
good. So
cool.
yeah, so I have like on this demo, like I was thinking about, I still just have one last part, because now again,
Yeah.
remember, we are thinking about, um, let's say, companies, or like at the end, it's really to be able to run it on production. But now, if we look at the other side from a security perspective, you don't want your developers to potentially run, let's say, images that are bad, or they have like CVs already, like known things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of the nginx that I have now, I might want to only have my Arden nginx to be able to be pulled. Okay. So
Yeah.
here, I will not show, it's a bit more complex, but just for the sake of the demo, I will just show you how we can actually limit the pool. Okay. So first of all, yeah, no, let's continue here. So if I go here, I will take down my both images and I will delete them. Thank you
Okay.
for your service. And of course,
Oh, the
oh yeah,
nginx one's
because it's
still,
being used. Of course, it's being
yeah, it's
used.
still running its hello world. Still
Yeah.
saying hello.
EB. Bye bye, hello
Now,
world.
What command is that? That's interesting. I don't think I've seen that before.
No. It's like, there's something magic with Docker, which I really love. You potentially just have to give the two first digits of a container ID
Oh
to
yeah,
delete it.
I think
Okay.
we
I
literally
didn't do.
talked about that for the first time on stream last week because I just
yeah,
learned
yeah.
that from our developer Joe who comes on stream, and I've always like been copying and pasting stuff out and or coming up with these really creative names
Right.
for containers or something like that, and he's like, no, you just need to get the first two, three letters.
Yeah, exactly. So like here, because I was in detached mode,
Mhm.
then it will provide me with, let's say, the full ID. This ID, okay, now I don't have any more containers. No, sorry, I don't think I have anything running, right? Yeah, okay, let me just run it again.
No, but that was cool. I've
No, all good. It's just more for
for
the
a second that
stream.
that was a special command, but then I remembered that we did actually talk about that whole shortcut.
So here you can see, like, the 4A blah 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 blah, it's actually the same as here. So you can copy these as much as you can copy Adoring Perlman, so it's the name because I didn't give it a name, or you can actually just go for the first two digits, and that will run fine actually.
Yes.
So let me
I feel like we
again,
could do a
like,
whole
it's
stream
four.
on just like Docker shortcuts and Docker little hacks, like the
Oh
Docker
yeah, and
RMI, Docker images, those kind of little like bring your best Docker command line hacks,
yeah,
just
and
like
and
on
um, and
stream.
that's a good that's a good thing that you said. Like here, I'm using like the legacy form. I would call it like that.
Mhm.
Normally, you will say like Docker container run, actually, or Docker
Yeah,
image list, and so on. So like you are more verbose, but at least you know exactly what you are doing to whom.
yeah,
Which I really like it, but it's just like for the sake of the demo, I'm just running less. Okay,
yeah.
so still I deleted it. So now, my dear friend, I think you can go. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right. Okay. Green means good, right? Okay. Oh, cool. So now what I will do is, like, I will go here into my container engine, and here I have this setting here called the allowed list. allowed
Okay.
image, and I will enable it, and I will say, okay, so I want
Cool.
you to be only able, and I don't care about the tag for now. I just want you to be able to actually download or to pull these nginx -lo
Interesting.
image.
Hmm.
Okay, so it seems to be applied. Okay, cancel. It's not. Oh, okay, it's now applied. Oh, okay.
Cool.
So now it will like reset the, but I don't have Kubernetes.
Restart.
That's also why. But it has to restart the engine to take it actually
Got it.
to the runtime to know that now he has an exclusion list or inclusion list
Oh, that's
to
cool.
it.
So is
So it
that
should, yeah.
and can that take wildcard searches? So like I was just looking at the tag, you did just the container name, but I was thinking like we usually name images like latest slim, or these are all called latest slim
Yeah.
XX.
So the
Just like the
tag
naming
can,
conventions we use for tags, yeah.
yeah. So the tag currently doesn't work,
Oh, okay.
but it's not a hard no. It's a hard tell us why. And
Right.
before the stream, I told the team that actually I saw your images here and there that was actually tagged with a dash slim at the
Yeah.
end. And I said like it will make total sense that someone wants to pull Arden or dash slim. Now, if you go into the docs, the team knows about it, but they also know it's a bit harder than that because a tag, you can tag your image whatever you want, right? So it needs to
Sure,
come
sure,
with a
sure.
SHA that's actually, or a cosine, maybe, I don't know, like maybe
Right,
you could
right,
say
right,
like, okay, this is the real identity of my
Straight.
slim image, and it's just not
right.
someone calling it like Debian-Slim, and at the end of the day, it's not at all Debian-Slim.
That's okay.
Got it. Really
Um,
cool. Really cool. I wonder if our
so
product team is
here, as you
listening,
can
because that's an
tell,
interesting thought.
Yeah.
Do you guys have do you have cosign? Do you have signing support in
not yet that I know, but it's definitively being taught of
cool.
like S bombs
Yeah, we're
also. Yeah.
yeah, we're kind of in the same boat. I
So we
think
have other
signing is a
tools,
cool
but
technology, but yeah.
the goal is like not to reinvent. Again, open source,
Right.
which is good,
Right.
is like here the tooling that you saw so far. It's a lot of tooling. Like we have Docker from Docker, right? Like
Yep.
the Docker command from Docker. We have Trivi from Aqua. We have
Yep.
nerdctl, okay, open
Mm-hmm.
source. We have Lima, open source, and so on, right? Containerd and Helm and other tools like kubectl and so on. So we are like bundling. And before you spoke about Finch, which is a good example, the tooling that you see in Finch is actually almost the same than the tooling in Rancher Desktop, but they just do like containerized environment for them to be tested, and
Yep.
also with AWS they will bring their tools and stuff like that, which is always good, like to be precise to something. But like the base tooling that they are using is almost the same as Rancher Desktop, which is cool.
Yep.
Like you can tell that if other companies, especially like someone like Amazon, is kind of reusing like the ID, the principle that you put
Yep.
in place, it means that something was right at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
here,
Validated.
let me go first with the normal one. So if I do this, it should say, okay, you are pulled, and I'm happy. Now that's really uncharted. Okay. Okay, first
All right.
thing, we are here. Okay, hooray. So now let's see if I do just nginx, sorry, I'll pull latest also. So if I do this, by default, like short naming goes directly to Docker Hub IO, and
Mm-hmm.
it will
Yeah.
try to pull nginx from there. Okay. So now normally it should tell me like, oh hell no.
Oh, interesting.
Here we go.
Cool.
So
Oh,
because you have that now, the tools like you take an image, you run it through Slim, okay, Slim.AI, sorry, and
Yep.
then you upload it into like your container registry, which is GC.
Right,
Let's say
right.
it's a private one. Here is GitHub, but like it could be like your private one or your cloud
Yeah, we
one,
see
whatever. And you
private
will tell,
ECR,
okay,
GCR.
from
Yeah.
now on, I just want this one. I don't want anything else. And because I cannot, like for now at least, I cannot do anything on the sides of let's say I cannot limit, as you can see, nginx is not here, so I cannot limit on the tags. I can still limit here. I'm
Yeah.
limiting an image directly, right? What I
Yep.
could do is like I could say no, but I trust them. So now if I apply here, again, we will go back through it. Can you find me another image, maybe that you have an hello world with? Could be
You
something
got
really
it.
small, like a node, Rust, or whatever.
Yeah, we have plenty.
Sure. Yeah. Let me find one that is public. How about a Ruby on Rails one?
Let's go.
That's fun.
It's just for the pooling. I will not run it. It's just to show that the pool is working.
Cool. Well, it should run.
Yeah,
But you got it
313.
there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
Ruby
Yeah.
hello 313.slimx.
Oops, 313. And
That is just the
here.
first one that is in that. Oh, I have a Rust one. That one's probably tiny. Should have done that one.
Where am I with my mouse? Here. Okay, so what's happening? Okay. Sorry, I'm running two things at the same time. So Ruby
That is all right.
hello 313 SlimX. So here is we are no more talking. So I rebooted. Remember, I said like I changed
Yep.
my allow lists
Yep.
now to be SlimDevOps only. Okay, still from GitHub. So now it
Cool.
should allow me to also pull this image.
Cool.
And again,
Drum roll.
yeah, it's just taking some time. I'm sorry for that, but okay.
Oh no.
Here we go. All right,
Docker
and
pull.
still
Docker pulls are how we have conversation in this. It's how we take questions from the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
That's
pulling
the pose,
images.
like, oh.
Yep.
And so if I try something Ruby, I don't know if someone else did something. Okay, I cannot search, but anyway, yeah, we could try if another Ruby from the same GitHub registry from someone else as some Ruby also. Nina, do you have maybe your own or repository here in GitHub?
I don't think so. Not with Git.
No. Okay. Yeah. Me neither. So
Yeah.
that's all good. It was more like a question.
I have one
yeah.
crazy idea. Actually, I don't know if this will work or not, but let me try. I'm gonna bounce over here. I'm in the Slim portal here. And our search here, we sometimes call this like our Google search of public images. Maybe we need a chat GPT of public images. Those are maybe fighting words from Google, but I wonder a little bit. I'm kind of curious if we can find a Ruby image that's maybe not from, I don't know exactly how searchable GitHub container registry is, but I have a few connected registries here. I'll get rid of those.
Right. Yeah.
But let's see if we can find one. Let's just take away Docker Hub and let's see what else is out there.
Yeah.
So how about one from, there's some in the Microsoft container registries. There's some in the Red Hat Quay registries. I'm not seeing anything.
Or do you have anything
from...
GitHub? Yeah. Do you have GitHub?
Let me see. Well, this is going to go through a lot of images on Quay because there are a lot of images there. Let me see if I don't see anything from GitHub, so I wonder if maybe there's something up with the public search there. We could do like we could do this one from.
Give me another Ruby. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. This is an old one. I don't know really where this is from, but let me grab the our platform scanning images is also a great place for downtime and chatter. So if people have questions about what we're looking at, feel free to ask them now. If you like the stream, please let us know. Give us a follow. You can always jump into our Discord. I don't know why our platform's going so slow right now, but
yeah, but I guess Yeah, we have the same issue. It's just like who
Yeah.
you will talk.
I just need to get this container tag here. So let me see if I
Yeah.
can find this one. Oh, it looks like it's finishing up right now. So it's app
So you're
service
gonna
Ruby. I just,
what are you gonna do with the Ruby this Ruby container or image? What are you gonna pull it and
No,
then
it was just try to pull again a kind of same name.
yeah
Um,
and
so
show that.
before, actually, you know what? No,
so
let me do something else then. Uh,
yeah, that would be the pull command for that image for the MCR random Ruby image off the internet that we just found, courtesy of the Microsoft Container Registry.
yeah, but I believe on container Microsoft Container Registry, so that's good. That's all good.
Yeah, same,
But
same.
let me see, because you were asking a good question before, Nina. So let me try something here. So, like every good project, we have a doc site, right?
Of
Yep.
course.
And if we go to the container engine here, so it follows from here, the user interface follows really like what we have here on the window, right? So here I'm on container engine, allowed image. Container engine was the page, allowed image is the second
Yep.
one. And here by default, it will, okay, so there's the repo. I could just say potentially Ruby.
I found a good one for you. So the Ruby project has a Ruby image on GitHub Container Registry. So
Oh,
that is
nice.
going to be
Good.
that's
How
a
That's
do
good.
much
you
easier thing. I actually just searched Ruby on GitHub and then found they have a repo actually called the CI. So it feels like GitHub Container Registry definitely has an opportunity for a public search capability. We
Yeah.
have a friend who works over there, so maybe we'll ping him and see if where that is on the
So
roadmap.
let's
But
try something like this then. I will put two dashes because it will tell that potentially there's something in between, and then I will put Ruby at the end,
okay, so
and I will
we're
apply.
allowing this. We trust the Ruby project's Ruby image that is
Anything
hosted on GitHub.
Ruby from GitHub. Yeah,
GitHub? Yeah.
Okay. That sounds
I'm
dangerous,
sure.
but well, let's go with
I'm
it.
sure it's fully secured.
What could go wrong? I'm
Mhm.
sure this
What
Ruby
will go
image for the
wrong?
Ruby community is good. They seem like they have a lot of good contributors and all of that kind of stuff. But
Okay,
cool.
so do you have the full path
The
of the
pull
image? Sorry.
command, yeah. Let me. I will post that. It looks like they have a couple different tags. I don't know what would happen if you just pulled the
Yeah,
ghcr.io/ruby/ruby. Maybe that would give you the latest tag or something.
yeah.
But
I'll just let
oh,
it like that. Potentially there's the latest exactly. So again,
there is a
we
latest
don't
tag.
check the
Yeah.
tags. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So if I do
Cool.
that, normally it should go through. Yeah.
Fun fact
So
for
now,
our for our Ubuntu fans, who we
oh
have
no,
several from Martin's community, and
good.
this Ruby image is based on Jammy, on Ubuntu Jammy, so the latest images. So our Venn diagram of Ruby developers, Ubuntu developers, and people interested in Rancher Desktop. So
So this didn't work.
Is latest? Is that is
Yeah,
the syntax for it? Or-
yeah, but I'm because here, as you can see, like the thing is like I wanted so the patterns are like this. So there's a registry which I
yep.
put, which is CR, right? And here, that's the example that I wanted to kind of reproduce. Is like
Oh,
I
okay.
can tell like whatever comes after, but I wanted at the same time to give like the image uh, behind
Yeah.
as Ruby.
Well, what would
But it,
work
yeah, he
different
didn't
than what
like
you
it.
were trying to, yeah, I think different from what you were trying to do, but this says for the organization. So if you changed where the double dashes were and you did GHCI, ghcr.io, that's going to kill me, /ruby // then it would work, because the Ruby is also the organization on GitHub Container Registry. So then it would say you could pull any of the images
Yeah,
from the Ruby
but here,
organization.
yeah, that's the point. But here I wanted to be, okay, let me zoom again.
Oh, you wanted to say
Here I
you could
wanted
allow
to don't
any
care
Ruby image.
exactly. I want to pull
Right,
any
right.
Ruby image from GitHub, independent of the organization.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm quite sure like I'm missing like maybe a star or something like that. I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
that's all good. That's all
Got it.
good. It was
Okay,
really like to
that's all good.
be testing. But if I do something like these, then that's the same as was here. So now I will be able to only pull from GitHub, uh, yeah, GitHub container registry.
So these
Cool.
rules come from Rancher Desktop, like this double / you'd look at
Yeah, yeah. The way, yeah, exactly. So the way you do the pattern, it's from us. Like it's
Mhm.
the pattern language that we have here. Might / will evolved with with time. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Um,
So
so here, let me try again. Uh,
and how do these rules, can these rules get translated into, like, how
okay,
portable is
and you.
something like the container, or sorry, the Kubernetes configurations and rules engines? Like, how do those get to sort of production? Would you just like push those to like your SUSE infrastructure? Would you push those to like whatever cloud infrastructure you're using?
Oh yeah, so
Um,
no, yeah, good, very good question. Then shameless plug to SUSE, sorry.
we're trying to get you
We do
promoted, not
have
fired. That's our, so yeah.
no, we are we have a tool called KubeWarden that it's
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
policies
yeah.
for Kubernetes, right? It works with actually with WebAssembly since a very long time, so they
Oh,
are
cool.
kind of really on it since a good time now. And
Yeah.
KubeWarden will allow you to tell which images are allowed into your cluster or not. I mean,
Okay.
that's cluster policy management, right? So there's
Yeah.
a whole environment there. There's other tools, other part of the community, of course. KubeWarden is a bit different because it allows you to actually uh, code policies, code policies, not in Rigo. That is like the legacy language normally that was used for
Yep.
policies. But here you can use like Rust, Go, whatever you know. The
Oh, cool.
the only thing is that you need to be able to compile it into WebAssembly.
Hmm.
Once it's
Okay.
in WebAssembly, and if you know like your policy, your Kubernetes policies, then that's another knowledge that you need to know, right? Then you apply it to your cluster, and it will tell you like, okay, the policies that I have on Rancher Desktop a bit different, but can totally be applied as KubeWarden policies. Then
Okay.
that's how you translate. Again, remember, Rancher. I mean it. I don't want to make it like about it all the time, but we are really always trying to think about an ecosystem from end-to-end perspective,
Mhm.
from a developer to
Hmm.
the operator of your Kubernetes clusters, right? Uh, so we need to have a transition. We have to need to have a tool, and these tools need potentially to be talking together, or at least to have the same mindset. Here is image allow list that is really, let's say, simple, but then the production level of it is KubeWarden definitively. So here I could
Cool.
pull the Ruby image, but if I just now do Ruby, and again it will go against the how do you say
Docker Hub.
the Docker Hub.
Yep.
Exactly, it tells me like, okay, your registry is not into the allowed list.
Okay. Interesting. Very cool. Very
Okay.
cool. Yeah, I think that it works well for the way we generally tend to work. So we've been working with design partners or sort of early customers. And the pattern that most of them follow is that they're pulling from something of like a development or a staging repository, and then they're running the Slim process and then pushing to like a separate
Yeah.
private production registry, which is where their Kubernetes or whatever their instances are pulling from. So that pattern really works. You could all your Slim images will go there. Ideally, they would be
Mm.
signed with an SBOM and all of that, but I think signing technology is still fairly new for most people. But yeah, so that pattern works. You just set up that rule to say, hey, the images are only coming from this Slim images repository, and all the dev images, so people aren't just pulling down Ruby latest, slapping their app in it, and sending it. You know it's going through this process, and your Slim CI
Yeah.
system is the only thing that can push images there. You interact with them through Rancher Desktop. It's configured as a rule in your Kubernetes, and now you've got a nice, secure system from start to finish. So
Exactly. And like what we discussed also offline, and I really wanted to repeat here about the learning journey from container to secured container and secured environment. Um, Slim AI really fills the gap between I have an unsecure container because it just created just like that, right? Like nginx. I mean, they are creating it very well. They do a great job. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like potentially they are creating nginx as they know, and how they build systems are still to this day, right?
right,
Therefore, like to arrive to the distro less, let's say,
yeah,
images, a developer might know the difference between just pulling an image to making multi-stage builds where you finally
yep,
can do a from scratch or from very small images and just run it. Then Slim AI is really here on the middle that, okay, feed me your container or feed me your container and we do some magic here, okay? And then there's an output that really is very, very close to what you will have from a distroless container.
yep,
Okay, I will not say it's exact same because might not be, should not be anyway, because distroless is very, let's say, different. But Slim
yep,
AI will still be really, really close, and that's what I really, let's say, appreciate here is like a tooling that suddenly removes me the, let's say, or bridge the learning that I don't have yet.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Nina, did you want to add to that? I think that's very much where we feel we are, but yeah,
Yeah, no, I think the way you describe that, it's like bridging the gaps for you. That's what Slim is doing in that whole process. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do think we've heard from a lot of developers who just, like, yeah, once if you're like a real container expert and you're really into it and you know how to build images from scratch, you know how to do the multi-stage builds, you know how to kind of do that, then you can follow that approach. You can use the distro list images, but I think that's what we really have heard from people is people can struggle to go from this, okay, I have this image that I've been working on and it's 500 gigabyte 500 megabytes or a
Mm.
gigabyte or something like that, and I really just don't know enough about the internals of that to know what I can take out and what I should leave in. You know, with multi-stage builds, it's kind of like, what are you copying from where? And if your Docker file gets really complex, it can just get really complicated really quickly.
Mm.
And so that's where we saw the need for this automated process. Now, if you're starting like greenfield and you had like, okay, I'm just writing my first line of code right now, and then I'm going to put that in a container. There are options like DistroList, ChainGuard Wolfie. There's these types of approaches that
Yeah.
might be a better fit if you're okay starting from that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
you're working with existing images or third-party images, that's where we feel we have a solution there that you can run this automated process, have your secured image, have these rules. The rules in Kubernetes really important, right? That gate there is really important. But know what that is important about that gate. Don't make that a blocker to your engineers to just like
Mm-hmm.
run into that wall all the time and say, I had these 200 vulnerabilities in my container and now I have to go fix them. How do I take curl out of this container? I have no idea. Um, like give them the tools, and Slim AI is one of those tools that helps you meet those compliance requirements that are in your rules engine. So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
+1 to that.
And yeah, you raise like a very good point. Is like when I speak, even not internally because we are really close to customers, but sometimes with other companies that in the past when I was in pharma, I was bringing these like, okay, I don't own what potentially providers will give me, but I want to
Yeah.
secure it. I want to be able to ensure that they are providing me with something secure. And that's not the default. I had so many stories where at the very beginning when we tried to implement even like a small tool and we were asking for Docker, Docker, let's say container images for Windows. And
Yep.
the company that was selling the tool spoke with someone internally from the business and said like, yeah, look, we are running on Windows. And we were like, oh, cool, like the technical side. And we went there to see the demo. And what they were doing is like they were running Docker desktop on a Windows server, which had like Hyper-V still back in the day.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, it's a Windows image. And we were like, oh hell no, it's a Linux image running in a
Right.
virtualization.
And
So you don't even understand what
yeah.
you're doing. So yeah, so these like don't take for granted that your knowledge is universal, like
Yeah. Yeah.
especially when it comes down to companies. Like you don't know who is speaking to whom at which level, what is the understanding. Managers that, and again, there's plenty of technical managers out there in business, not just IT but in business also, but potentially managers, director, or the more you go up and the more they read in what we call in French in diagonal, like they just read like first sentence, last sentence of something of Forbes or whatever, and they say, oh yeah, I know containers now. Like no, you don't. So and again,
Yeah.
that's not something that I say lightly. It's just like happened to me time and time again. So that's why I'm so glad being at SUSE now. Again, people understand, but like I never take for granted like the. I always try to have like to explain what is the level of understanding that we have together, and then when I know the level of understanding, now we can discuss about the solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right.
I
Well,
think
Nuno,
that's something
this has been.
I did want to mention that's something that I should here has been doing a lot of research on like conducting surveys to find out how much do people really know about containers at companies and how are they going about this slimming hardening process, and it is revealing very similar things to what you're saying. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had somebody who told us. I just love this quote. It's containers are really easy to get into and they're really hard to get good at. It's like
Mm.
it's one of those things
Oh
that
yeah.
has this learning curve of, they make it so easy to do this kind of, like pull Python latest, write a Flask app, put it in there, and then okay, cool, you got this image, it ran, it's awesome, cool, good. Then you start getting the next layer of the onion and the next layer of the onion, and when you get to this level where you're looking at vulnerability scans like we were looking at in Rancher Desktop, and you're like, I can't ship unless I fix all of these. It's a really difficult place to put a developer in who isn't, a container expert. And that's, I think, something that the industry is realizing writ
Mm.
large. Docker knows this, and they've been adding a lot of
Yeah.
tools. It's part of the idea of philosophy behind the extensions program. Other people are building tool sets and thought leadership here and stuff like that. And I think the groundswell is happening to make it easier for people to fix these problems. So
Yeah, but it's
cool.
yeah. Again, like think end to end. Even if you are like a decision maker, think end to end, or the manager of either operators or either developers. And I say either because yes, DevOps exists at some point in time, but the more the company will be big, the less you will see the DevOps handling end to end. You will have a production
Yeah,
team at the end of the day running some backups, another team running the storage, another team running the OS itself, another team finally
right,
running
right.
something else. So it's still here it's not because we are in a cloud native age that companies suddenly turned into cloud native age. And that's why tools like yours are so important. Philosophies like ranchers, at least, are so important. We are trying to really think about the future, yes, but there's a present that you cannot discard at all. And we
Yeah.
have to fill that gap.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, Nuno, this has been great. Let's definitely do it again. Let's take the YOLO stream. I can't code Ruby, so we won't look at the Ruby image again. But if we want to do some more complicated apps with nginx and maybe Python or Node that Nina and I are a little more comfortable with,
Let's go.
we can definitely do that, and let's do it again. But I just want to say thank you. I mean, this was really awesome. It's like, a philosophy lesson on technology, a history lesson, a
Yes.
technical lesson. Like, I know a lot more about WSL and Rancher Desktop and Kubernetes now. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. This
glad.
has been great. So
And thank you for the invitation. Indeed, it was a long time coming. I was like stream sniping your streams, like doing LOs here and there. But no. I'm really glad to have come here, and it was really like interesting. And again, like when mindsets and technologies think alike, it's just a good match. That's all.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, sounds good. Well, if you guys want to find us, again, we're in Discord, so you can come to our Discord channel. You can find, Nuno, where can people find you generally? Twitter,
Twitter.
communities, wherever.
Twitter, Mastodon. Okay, for everyone that knows achiderm.io, kind
Yep.
of the instance where all the geeks are right now. I'm Nunix at achidorm.io, or I'm Nunix Tech on Twitter.
Awesome.
Okay. Awesome. And you all know where to find Nina and I at Slim.AI in the Discord, Nina Hacks and PSV. So with that, I think we will sign off and say thank you to Nuno and come back soon. So, all right. Sounds good. See
Thank you
y'all.
very much.
All
Thanks.
right. Bye-bye.